There is a very quiet kind of panic that appears when a conversation suddenly turns backward in time. You're sitting at a dinner table or lying in the dark next to someone you love, and they begin to talk. They talk about third-grade teachers, the smell of their childhood living room, the feeling of a familiar blanket. They open those memories effortlessly, no strain, no searching, as if their past is a continuous, warm river that was never broken. You listen, you nod, you smile at the right moments, and then it's your turn. And that's where everything stops. Not a blur, not fading images like an old photograph, but a vertical drop. Your mind reaches backward to find the foundation of yourself, and instead of images, it hits static, white noise. You know the facts, you know where you lived, you know names, you know timelines, but you don't feel present in them. No emotion attached, no depth, no smell, no warmth, no echo. It feels as if you only truly powered on around 15 or 16 years old. Before that, there is only fog. This isn't bad memory, and it isn't lack of intelligence. You feel this mismatch in your body, a subtle tightening in your chest, your breath becoming shallow, as if your brain is trying to access a hard drive that was wiped clean, not by accident, but deliberately. You watch other people build their identity on memory, while yours floats, unanchored, in dark water. And in that moment, a question appears. Is something wrong with me? Or worse, did I ever really exist back then at all? But the silence in your mind isn't empty. It's heavy. It suggests that the door isn't just closed, it's being held shut from the other side. When you try to explain this to others, their response is usually reflexive comfort. Oh, I don't remember much either. No one remembers being 6. That was a long time ago. They equate your complete absence with forgetting a birthday or the color of a childhood bike. They assume it's time doing what time does. They think you're just not nostalgic, that you live in the present, that you're flexible. Sometimes they even admire it. Low baggage, emotionally light, strong. From the outside, it looks like a clean slate. But clean slates are often the result of fire. They don't see the difference between memory fading and memory being sealed. Faded memory still leaves residue, a sense of almost. What you experience is a cliff, the difference between a library missing a few books and a library submerged underwater. What the world calls emptiness is actually effort, because holding a space that large shut requires enormous energy. Your nervous system is running a constant background process, keeping a door closed against hurricane pressure. And the cost is a fatigue that sleep cannot fix. Not tired from work, but tired from containment. Without autobiographical continuity, you have to build yourself in real time. Most people rely on their past. They know who they are automatically. You don't. So you observe. You read rooms. You notice eye contact, tone, micro shifts. You become exceptionally good at understanding others while remaining opaque to yourself. This creates hypervigilance. You are always on. And over time, that tension hollows something out inside. You may function extremely well in crisis. Your system is trained for threat. But calm, boredom, gentle happiness can feel unsettling. In silence, the static grows louder. Anxiety without a source, a sense that something is about to happen, or an emptiness without a story. Deep attachment becomes difficult. Not because you don't want closeness, but because intimacy requires sharing a self, and your file has been heavily redacted. You offer presence, stability, care, but not depth, because that depth is inaccessible even to you. This is not a flaw. It is an adaptation. To understand it, you have to look at how memory forms under prolonged pressure. In a regulated nervous system, the hippocampus acts like a librarian, turning sensation into narrative. This happened, I felt this at that time. But under chronic stress, emotional neglect, instability, subtle threat, survival takes priority. Cortisol floods the system, and the librarian leaves the desk. Memory becomes a luxury. Experiences aren't stored as stories, but as sensations in the amygdala. The body remembers what the mind cannot. This is structural dissociation, a biological firewall. Your brain didn't forget your childhood, it hid it so you could keep functioning, keep going to school, keep sitting at the table without falling apart. It traded memory for attachment. Because if a child fully remembers fear and loneliness while still depending on the very source of it, that conflict cannot be resolved. You can't run, you can't fight, so the brain chooses selective blindness. This isn't failure, it's strategy. But the strategy never gets turned off. You are no longer that child, yet the system still treats the present as threat, so it numbs today the same way it numbed yesterday. You become efficient, but not alive. You work not from passion, but from vigilance. You love not from desire, but from duty. You are safe, but unfamiliar to yourself. And the final question is no longer, how do I hide this? But, how long can I afford to pay this cost? The answer isn't forcing memory to return. The nervous system doesn't respond to force. It responds to safety. And safety is something you were never taught how to create. Integration isn't about recalling facts. The gap is the memory. The silence is the loudest signal you ever had permission to send. So you stand in the hallway of yourself, your hand resting on a door that's been welded shut for decades. You don't break it, you don't force it, you simply feel the vibration on the other side. And you realize, the one holding the door is a younger version of you who loved you enough to disappear so the rest of you could survive. And the question that remains isn't, how do I get in, but what happens if I stop gripping the handle so tightly?